Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of Grasshopper. In this video we're taking a look at the randomness and how to create certain randomness things, bring them back to order, and then also have an attractor point which is reacting to those kind of things that is going to be implemented in that. So stay tuned for the video and see you after the logo. So, to start here, we have the script here, but I want to go through it one by one, and I want to explain the things that how we did it. So we have like a certain amount of let's say a plane on top of here that is divided into certain things, and also in the X and the Y direction. Furthermore, we have the size of it, which is dependent on just like a normal box. That gets populated by a certain amount of points, and then we have also the sizes of the things itself that varies depending on how it is. So second thing you need to see that you should not use rectangle sizes till 0, because that would actually result in an insufficient thing. So let's not do that anymore. Anyhow, let's just do this whole script again, and we're gonna do it one by one, and we're gonna do it in a new file. So first of all, we're gonna create a box. This box will have the things, the random points inside that we want to use. So we can do this in a matter of certain ways. We're just gonna create a base, and this base has 3 parameters. Just double click and enter, and you just create a box in the beginning like this. Now we're gonna populate this box with just the random points that we want to use. You can also with this here, you can import your own points that you really want to have in the system. Now, next thing, we're gonna create a rectangle that depends on those planes here, and we're gonna give it a certain size that we want to use it with, like that. In this case, I do X and Y size the same. Next, we want to create those things that it goes basically to the bottom, and we will also want to push this more to the 0, 0 level. So I think we're just going to do it with this. So we're just going to move it up into the Z direction by half of the amount that we want to use. So for example, do it like here with number 2 divided by 0 divided by 2, move it up by that amount, so we have it more in the correct area. So now with that we have our basic planes, and those needs to be moved upwards more. I don't know why it only goes till here. So the geometry that is moved upwards by that amount, and 0, 0 is defined on that point here. Okay, and let me just try out. Okay, I think we need to move it just like the whole. Yeah, okay, we don't need to do the division part, so that makes sense. Anyhow, okay, now we have our base plane defined in the 0, 0 axis, and we also want to create, because we are having those things that are getting connected randomly, we want to also have a base plane that works in the same way. So we just now create a rectangle, and this rectangle has the same values as this one, and we're gonna create a domain that will have those values inside this rectangle. So construct domain, construct domain. Oh, I will actually also going to use, this is not for you, but just so you see the units. So we're going to construct the domain here for you as well, and we're going to do it like a -1, so it will be like the negative of it, and this will be like the X and Y size of it. And so all those points, this is basically just the same as the box that we moved upwards. So now we have the Now we have those points, and we also want to move those rectangles that we created here to those points. So we're gonna do a vector of 2 points, and we're also gonna create a populate geometry in 2D, and this will be in here. Yes, and so we're gonna create the from the origin points to those points, and we're gonna move those rectangles over there. It will be so if we do it this way, it will be a little more lighter on our processing, so this will be a little more efficient. Okay, good. And we're also gonna create the amount of points that we want to create in this matter as well. Okay, good. Now that we have those 2 things, we're just gonna disable a few of those other things. We're gonna also create the surface that goes in between those things. So this will be those curves here and those curves from here. And as you see, we already created our basic layout, and we also want to do the same thing with the edges of our things as well. So we have those in here, and we also wanna move them like we moved our rectangles to begin with. So we have them here and there. Perfect. Furthermore, we want to create this basic grid that is not gonna end like this randomly, but we want to have it like a little more above, that has the more strictness to it. So we're going to do this the following. So there's a command called divide surface, and with that we can create a U and a V count of like a certain surface that we want to create. So we're gonna use it from the surface, from the ground surface that we have here of our rectangle, and we're gonna use this as the surface here, see here in the bottom, and we're gonna plug this in here. And as you see, I'm just gonna hide this quick, it creates a grid of points in that matter. We want to move those points now upwards, so it basically flows in and over. It flows basically in those things, and then it goes top, and it has this strict, more rigid way to it. So we're gonna just move them upwards, and we just, for now, we're gonna use the double the amount of the value of that. By the way, if you would like, if you do a division of something, you can also just type in the number, and then it automatically puts in the number that you wanted to have here to begin with. So if I do, for example, *5, it will create the number, or 6, it will create the amount here. So we're gonna have the basic value here, and we're gonna set this to 2, and we are going to move the points upwards in that matter. And we have to use the z-axis, obviously, and with that we move them, well, exactly at that point. Maybe I should just use a number slider here, that makes more sense. And so we're gonna use it by a magnitude of the base plane upwards. Now we also want to create another vector that goes from the base point here that we want to use, and we also want to connect this point basically, or the vector from here to there. So we need the vector from this point and from that, and we also want to move those surfaces that we moved up there as well. So we're gonna use the move command and gonna move it there, and as you see, those things are nicely fitted there. We're also gonna change the amount of surfaces that we want to have in that sense as well, so they're a little more even spaced out and not on top of each other. Okay, now we want to do this ruled surface here again, but to move this upwards basically there, so we have to move the rectangle as well. And now that's the rectangle, and we're gonna use the ruled surface component again, and we're gonna, is it the correct one? I'm not that sure. Yeah. In this instance, it actually, when we moved it upwards, there were several points created, and because the way how the divided surface worked, because it creates a tree every time we creating a another surface, or like another U or V count. If you go to params and then to util and then you go to the param viewer, you can actually see, if you double click on it, you can see the trees that are getting created. And if you just, I think, put in this here, or maybe there. Okay, anyway, it will create those different trees with those different amounts by each. And for example, if we now increase the amount here, you see those like trees of the branches get increased as well. Anyhow, what that means, we basically need to flatten that, so it will only be created once and in the same amount that we had here as well. So we're gonna do now the ruled surface commands and connect the rectangles that we had here in the beginning with the moved things here. No, actually not those, but we want to use the ones, the correct ones. Let me actually take a look which ones those are. Oh yeah, they're just those ones here. Okay, and as you see, it basically goes from the point that we created in the beginning up to a certain defined location here on the top. Furthermore, because we created this rectangle, you see there are a lot of those things coming here, like right at the border, because we have in Grasshopper it's made like this, that if you have some leftover points, it basically always goes to the last point like this. So we need to equalize the divided surface points with the populate 3D points that we have created. And we actually might need to like -1 that. So we are going to just create the U and the V count here. So we have control over that, and we just multiply those. And I actually have to see, I think if you just multiply it together, it would create 35 points. But because it's a division, we might need to add 1 in each instance as well, because it would because the division is always like 1 off. Let's say it like that. Okay. Just put this here. And now we can use the counts that we have there for the 3D populated and the 2D populated counts. So if you would change the count here on the top, you see it will create it automatically. Okay, good. Now we have our main things defined more or less already, and I want to basically merge them together so they're like each of those things is like one thing, let's say. So you're going to use the command merge. And we're gonna use all the different surfaces that we had created here, and we're just gonna basically put them together so they all make a little bit more sense, hopefully at least. This one here as well. No, actually this one here. So we're just gonna middle mouse button click and disable the preview, and as you see, there's still the same things as well. Now, we also want to, if you would like to bake them now and say yes group, for example, they would actually be just one big group. So we actually want to graph them, all of them. And so now you see there will be like in those groups of 4. So if we take our little thing here again, it should be creating those things all equally. Well, I think that's not the best representation, but okay. Anyhow, but now if we want to bake them and group them again, they actually be, wait. No, I think we need to do the group command here, put them here, and then bake them. and just don't group it there. But now you see they're each of those individual group, which consists of 2 polar surfaces and 2 surfaces in that sense. Now what we want to do now is we want to, okay, this is fine, we want to remove certain areas depending on the distance of a point. So we are going to do this by, and we can actually go a little bit further. We can take the points of those points, this points, or that point, and take it all together. Otherwise, we will just be doing it with the points here in the middle. Let's see how far we can go with this video. So the points that we had here, I want to create another point. Right click and set 1 point and put it somewhere here, and then you can move it around in the Grasshopper environment. And now we want to know the distance between this point and the other point as well. Okay. Let me actually also get the points of the other things as well. This will be the points from here, and then as well the points of the surfaces as well. So let me actually think for a second, because we can compare. What we would be able to do is we can compare the 2 points in between each other, and then we can basically kick out one of those. But this will be a little bit more advanced, because you need to define the trees in between each other. So I think for now let's just stick with the basic random points that we created here, and like those ones, and then make it dependent on those point cluster. So we are going to measure now the distance that is already measured, and then we're gonna create the distance that we want to remove them from. So we're gonna create the second number, first number, and now we have a list of different like true or false indicators that tell us if the point is near that number or not, basically. And by sorting them out, we can use it with dispatch, and we're gonna dispatch out the list of values that we had here in the end, depending on that. And the way we have to do it is because we're having a tree formation here, so we need to dispatch the tree branches out. So we're gonna do this by using the util and then the tree parent viewer component, and then we're gonna dispatch this list with the pattern created from the difference here, and we're gonna tree item, or actually tree, wait, it's under, no, tree branch, and this will basically take the tree that we want to use. So this will be those merged units here, and we're gonna use the path that we had in the dispatch pattern. So if we now hide this, you see, okay, let's actually the other things as well invisible, and let's just focus on the point that we had here in the beginning, which is this point here. Okay, right now it's actually the dispatch pattern of the other thing, and we actually, yeah, and you see now it has this very nice kind of effect to it, that it removes those points here. And then obviously we can bake it rather quickly, and we have, if you go to the render view, always this very nice shape that we can use it with. I also want to add like another kind of more easier functionality to it. If you want to switch back and forth between those things, you can just simply use a Boolean toggle that, and then we also use the stream gate or filter. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is stream filter, and depending on the button, it basically uses this one or that one. So we're just gonna use it here as a path as well, and if we just click this button, it will go back and forth between, depending if you want to have it that the points near it will be there, or the points away from it will be displayed. So yeah, and then furthermore, you just need to use your thing and you create maybe a certain sense, certain things around it, and you can render it really quickly in the environment of, for example, V-Ray or any other render component. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that helped you a little bit, especially with the tree branches, for example, and also with the stream gates. And furthermore as well with just like basic connectivity of real surfaces in Rhino. So I hope you're still also staying safe and staying at home, and have a great day, and thank you very much.